What does it take to create compelling videos and be a master marketer? I mean, it's a question I've asked myself, and I think a lot of business owners do. We're going to dive deep into that and learn from somebody who has mastered how to make videos and how to use videos to grow their business. So stay tuned on this episode of Word of Mouth.
Get ready to improve your mindset, increase your skill set, and expand your network. Follow along as the CEO of Master Networks brings you over a decade of business networking experience. Welcome to Word of Mouth with Chaz Wilson. I was thinking back to those initial conversations we had, even before we'd rebranded to Word of Mouth and we were working with Connect Share Prosper, and we had debates about whether or not to just take the video away.
Oh, yeah.
That it was going to be audio only, and then there was some back and forth, and we kind of changed each other's minds. So I was just curious now, your thoughts on those prior conversations and how video has kind of enhanced your brand, your business.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can get in depth of why videos enhance the brand, but I think taking a step back as to why we did video was important. I mean, I think it was just simply two reasons from my perspective was, how do I consume content?
Gotcha.
And I find that I'm consuming content via video. That's like the key. That's where I'm looking at video. There are some podcasts I'll listen to or shows that are audio only, but that's the only way I can listen to them is that it's audio only.
You didn't have the option.
I didn't have the option.
That's how you gotcha.
So I did video. And the second thing is just trends. I mean, if Google saw enough to invest in by YouTube, like there's a reason why video is so powerful. So I think video to me, it was just looking at trends and how do I consume content. So that's why when we had the conversation,
right,
like, we're going to do video because it's just that important. And then secondly is about, I would say 2.5 years ago or so, one day I was sitting in my office looking through the glass and I saw our conference room across the way and I had just watched an episode of The Prophet. I don't know if you've ever seen that show with Marcus Lemonis.
It sounds familiar, but I don't know if I...
Yeah, so he goes in and he saves businesses and he helps turn them around. And I remember him doing one on a retail store and he sat down with the people and he mapped out the floor plan and he said, each square foot is worth $1 amount.
Oh.
And so, right. So what's the square foot? And I was like, well, we're not a retail store.
But it applies.
And so I'm looking at this conference room we used like once a month.
Yeah.
I was like, this is not making us any money. It's not working. It's not doing anything for us. And so like that moment, I didn't hesitate. I just went and I'm like, okay, let's move the table out. We're going to set it up. And over the next few weeks, we ordered camera equipment and we just started to build it. And I went all in on investing in video equipment, videographers, all of that. So
gotcha.
that's why, we just went after it.
No, of course. But that's really interesting, especially when you said that trends kind of guided your way or the decision that you made. It's fascinating to think that we kind of, because we are the consumers, we set those trends as well. So that's an interesting point. But we actually have a guest on today who probably has some insight into this since he's built his brand, especially on YouTube. So I'm excited to dive into this with him.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, so let me introduce our guest. We have Roger Wakefield, who is a regional partner with his wife, Julie, in the Texas-Houston region. I better correct myself. Texas-Houston region of Master Networks. Roger Wakefield also might be a familiar face. I joke, Roger, you're a familiar face in our home because you show up like every third video on my son's tablet when we're looking at videos. Probably 300 video likes a month come from my 11-year-old. He watches all your videos. So anyway, welcome to the show, Roger Wakefield. Welcome.
Thank you. It's glad to be here. How are y'all doing?
We're doing great.
Good. How are you?
Off to a good start this year. How about you?
I'll tell you what, this is going to be an amazing year. It's off to a great start and it's already looking wonderful.
Yeah. So Roger, I just want to kind of ask you, I think you had a similar, I've heard some of your story. I want to kind of start like how you got involved in video, why video is so important. But I remember, I think you had a similar experience like I did where like it just light bulb one day, I'm going all in on video. I know you were at a conference and you heard some things and then like that weekend you went right after it, right?
I went to a marketing conference out in California. When I showed up, even just to register, once they got me registered, they wanted to find other plumbers for me to hang out with. And the girl looks at me and she said, "There's no other plumbers here. Who would you hang out with?"
Oh,
And I
wow.
said, "Anybody in the trades, plumbers,
Yeah.
electricians, roofers, HVAC techs." And she scrolls down her tablet and she looks up at me and she said, "There's nobody here like you."
Mm.
And the next words out of her mouth were, "I don't know who you're going to hang out with." And
She didn't know
I'm
you very well,
smiling.
did she?
Yeah, she
Apparently
didn't know me at
not.
all because I am smiling from ear to ear. And the two thoughts going through my head are, number one, don't worry about me. I'll be fine. I'm going to hang out with everybody. But the next thing was, why aren't there tradespeople here? And I saw a great opportunity literally at that moment. But once I got into the conference, one of the first sessions I went in, they're talking about video and how important video is going to be in the future, and that the written text, the written communication on social media is eventually going to get buried by video. And I mean, it's happening. It's happening to us every day.
Yeah. So I know, like, for me, when I sat down and I looked in out that glass window and I saw the conference room, and I remember I grabbed Corey, our COO, and I was like, actually, this table we're sitting on was in that room, and I was like, Corey, grab one end of the table. We're moving it out. He's like, where are we going with it? I'm like, I don't know. It's getting out of here. And we went on Amazon and we started looking for some video equipment, and we started talking to the network and saying, all right, we're going to look for videographers. We're going to do all of this. I still like have a roadmap or a plan, but you did the same, right? You came home that weekend and you told your team, like, we're going all in on video, and you just went after it, right?
But Chaz, I had to leave that conference early Friday. I didn't even get to stay around for the end of it, the last few hours, the keynote, any of that. When I got on the plane, because I had a radio show Saturday morning. So I
Mm-hmm.
got on the plane. There's nobody in the seat next to me. I've got both trays folded down. I've got notes, an iPad, the handouts that they have for you to write notes in. I've got my computer open, and I'm literally compiling everything, going through every note, putting it together. The next morning, I did the radio show. I came back to the office, kept going through all my notes. Sunday morning, Julie and I go to church. I take her back home. I come back to the office. I'm here till 6 o'clock that evening. Monday morning, when Julie and Will walked in, after we got the plumbers out, I said, guys, we're changing our marketing and we're doing everything different starting right now. And we literally did. From that moment on, it's been a completely different world.
Man, it's and gosh, who would have thought, at least when we started doing video, and I'm sure when you did, like, what the impact would be once COVID hit, and how important
yeah.
video was and what the impact it's made. I
Right.
mean, what do you think you said it, text is going to get buried by video. What do you think this year is going to do? I mean, I would imagine more video is just more impactful, right? I mean, it's never been more important.
The last quarter of last year was really good for us because we've been consistent all the way through it. I mean, from the day I walked back in the office, a month later, we started doing 3 videos a week. Well, last year, starting, I guess, the beginning of August, we saw, and actually even before that, around March or April, we started seeing a growth. By August, we grew exponentially. I mean, there for a few months, we were getting 3 to 5 million views a month. And we're still kind of midway around there and up and down. But I think that there weren't a lot of new television shows coming out. There's live sports at the time had almost completely stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Everything has completely changed. And this year so far, we're starting out about the same. It's going to get back to a normal. But one thing I told Julie when the virus hit last year, what if this is the new normal? What if we don't have a cure for this? We don't have a cure for the flu. We don't have a cure for AIDS. They're both viruses. What if this is the new normal? And we started looking at that. How can we adjust and make things better for our viewers, for our consumers, and help them learn more and do better, help them improve their lives?
Yeah, I often wonder, like, should every business do video?
Oh, that's a great question.
Like, is there, I mean, Roger, you're a plumber. I get it. Like,
I was fixing to say, I mean, if it can work for a plumber, and you look at it like this, because I spoke at a roofing conference at the end of last year. And literally, I'm telling the roofers, look, if you made videos just to communicate with your consumers, because Chaz, when I first started, I made videos teaching people at home how to fix their own plumbing,
Yes.
knowing that if they couldn't do it, I was now that trusted advisor that they would listen to, that they would talk to.
right.
And if it was a problem too big for them, I'm the first guy they want to call. We
Yeah.
get calls from all around the country.
Yeah.
And I'm a plumber. So you tell me, if a plumber can do it, who couldn't?
Right. So, I mean, I just wonder that, like, so I think about it too, and I don't know how you are too.
Mhm.
Like, there's a lot of people just say I'm not good on camera. I mean, we talked about it here on, even doing this show,
Yeah.
camera angles, and I don't know how to edit video, and I just think video is so crucial. I mean, I look at my kids, they're watching videos all the time. That's how they're consuming everything is video. Like you not being good is not that's get over it. If you're in
Right.
business, it's time to be on video, right? I don't know. That's just my take on it. I just think you got to get over it.
Well, and I look at it like this too. You started out by going out and buying a bunch of camera equipment because you at least had a better plan than I did. I literally sat down in front of a webcam on a laptop and made sure I talked extra loud because I knew the microphone was 2 feet back. And I started with just what I had. And once I got started and started doing things, then I saw what kind of engagement I was getting, what kind of feedback I was getting. Then I thought, okay, I'm going to start investing a little bit in this. And when we finished the radio show, we had got to where we started videoing the radio show. But once that contract was up and we looked at possibly going in and renewing, I said, you know what, with the money I'm thinking about spending on radio, I could actually invest that in a studio. And I mean, that's what we've built.
Yeah, very smart.
Yeah, but so I just want to hit one of the elephants in the room. I don't know. I hear this often, and you know, my kids joke. You see kids today like, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" I want to be a YouTuber. Like it's now a category.
It's an actual profession.
Yeah, well, it is. So, but okay, so it is. But then I hear people who say, "Well, that's great. You got a ton of likes, and there's just like any sport, there's some superstars out there. But can people really, like, is it a distraction from their real business, or can they really make money on video?" Right? Like I think there are people who do. There's definitely people who make money on YouTube, but I also think there's people who just like it's more fun to make the video
right.
than make me make a sales
Right.
call. So I spend way more time doing that, and I'm not getting anywhere.
Okay.
But
And I'm telling you, you're looking at it completely wrong
yeah.
because I started this 2 years ago. Okay. And let me correct that. It's been 3 years ago now, but the first year from March to December, I was just making videos. I didn't know what I was doing. From that point forward, we consistently got better. From about mid 2020, so July 2020 till the end of the year, I made almost 10 times more. I'm going to say 8 times more in that 6-month period than I have in my best year ever as a plumber. So, what if I told you I could teach you to do something and in 2 years, you would increase your income 8 times, 10 times, possibly even more? Now, does that get your attention?
Yeah, so it does. But let me ask you the question then is,
Mhm.
I know somebody listening says, was that the 8 times meaning your plumbing business went 8 times up, or revenues off of video?
The videos themselves. I got
Well, and let me answer this in a very wonderful way. The money that we were spending in Google advertising, we quit. Okay.
Okay.
But the plumbing company is still growing because of the videos that I'm doing. All right. We're still getting our name out there, but now we're marketing. We're not advertising.
Yes.
We're not selling ads. We're not paying to make our phone ring. We are creating valuable content to where people want to call us. Okay. So the plumbing company has increased in business. The revenue has increased. But the YouTube channel has become a very healthy mid upper 6-figure a year income on its own. It makes money through sponsorship. It makes money through advertising. Say that you wanted to advertise to plumbers nationwide. I'm the biggest plumbing channel there is on YouTube. I'm the fastest growing plumbing channel there is on YouTube. I get the most plumbing views on YouTube, the most minutes watched. It all adds up to where we are the channel that anybody who wants to talk to plumbers wants to advertise on. That's how that becomes a 6 or even 7-figure a year deal. We're hoping to do 7 figures this year.
Oh, that's amazing.
What about someone who's not, like, that's not the only space on YouTube? Like plumbing, I'm sure there's not a lot of other plumbers on YouTube. I think you've even said that.
So
But what
a
about
crowded space?
Right. What about something that's oversaturated?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. So if it's like again, business coaching or
Right.
health coaching, or there's a lot of those out there. It's a good question. Like, should somebody go after a pretty crowded space?
Right. Is it worth their time and money investing into it?
Plumbing is not just like I'm the only plumber out there. There's hundreds of us. What I've done is I've got in, I've studied them, I've looked at what they're doing and said, you know what, I can do that better. I heard a gentleman speak at Connect one year, a guy named Dave Jinks. You probably know who he is.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
He talked about R&D, rip off and duplicate.
Yeah.
And I watched what they did and said, I like the way they do this, but I can do that better. And it came down to cameras, to the way I show it, the way I look at it. When I started doing YouTube, I just wanted to communicate with my customers. Later, I wanted to be the best plumbing YouTube channel. Now I'm looking at, I want to become one of the best YouTube channels. I see us hitting 1 million subscribers in the next couple of years. That puts me on the upper end of YouTube. And guys, I'm a plumber. I'm doing plumbing. I'm talking about plumbing. That's it.
I think that, what the ahas I just had that I hope everyone listening is having, and I wonder, Roger, I mean, I think this is a shift that you made. You didn't say it this way, but this is what I'm hearing. And I think it's a shift we've pushed to make. And I probably really every business needs to look at it this way, is you shifted from being a plumbing company to a marketing company. Right? Like, we're a business networking organization. That's the product or service that we offer and provide. But really, we started looking at ourselves as a content, training and development company that produces, content through marketing. And I think that's the shift, right?
If you've got one of these and you know how to use it, you can be a marketing media company. It's that easy.
It's really just shifting your mindset at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's shifting your mindset, and then the activities that you do.
Right, of course.
Change that piece of it. Right.
And remember, here's what's funny. Guys, I have no formal education in marketing and advertising in any of, even in social media. I've hired a couple of coaches, but other than that, it's what can I read? What can I learn? What can I do to get better? And people say, oh, well, you know what? You're a natural on the camera. You just talk. I do two things. I look that lens right dead center, because when I talk to somebody, I want to look them straight in the eye. And when I'm making a video, I'm talking to one person. So I say you. I don't look at the camera and say, hey, any of y'all can do this, because now I'm giving them that escape. They can say, he doesn't know me. I can't do it.
Right.
But when I look at that camera and say, look, you can do this just as easy as I can. Now they're like, wow, I can do that.
Yeah, you're talking to one, right? You're able to speak to the person that's listening. So, I mean, there's a lot of businesses right now that are struggling, and to your point, you watching this, you may be struggling in your business, or you want to grow,
right?
And need to grow. I mean, everyone needs to grow. Video is one of the best ways to do that, because it also captures who's behind it. I've often, had people say, which I didn't realize when I started Master Networks, that telling the story, I kind of got tired. I got like marketing fatigue of my own story, right? Like, telling it all the time got kind of exhausting to me. It's like, how do I laugh at my own joke again, right? The punchline, here it comes, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And I remember my partner Tina in New York said, hey, I got up today and I told your story. And somebody stood up and said, I was part of another networking organization, and I didn't even know who the owner was. I knew their name, but I didn't know the story. And then hearing your story made me connect to a person. And I remember thinking about that. It's like, I can never get fatigued by my own story, by my own marketing. So you listening today, tell your story, tell it often, and tell it in front of the camera, right? I mean, that's just, you have to.
So video is not just for reaching a wider audience. It's also for letting that audience connect with you as a person.
Yeah. I mean, my kids think they know Roger. I mean, now they've met you, but
you bet. And Elizabeth, I like the way that you put that, because think about it. If people, and I mean, literally, I was in Orlando last week. I went to a restaurant. I'm sitting at the bar with a videographer, and we're talking. And all of a sudden, this big guy in a suit comes walking around behind the bar, and he gets over in front of me. He says, "I know you from somewhere." And I just kind of looked at him and smiled. And he says, you do plumbing, don't you? And all of a sudden, the bartender who's been waiting on us for an hour comes over and she says, "Oh my gosh, you showed me how to make my toilet stop running." And he started laughing, and because I've watched him, he said he helped me unjam my disposal. Now remember, I'm 800 miles from home. And both these people are like, "Oh my gosh, we watch your videos." And he says, "Roger, look, I can listen to you all the time." He says, you have great knowledge, but you tell good stories about how you learned to do this, or why this happened, or whatever." So that's two people at a restaurant 800 miles away. My videographer gets up, walks out. I get up, I finish talking to them, I take pictures. I come out the door. There's a lady sitting there, and she looks up at me and just starts laughing. She says, "Oh my gosh, I told my husband that was you." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She says, "We watch your videos and he didn't think it was you." And I
Pretty
mean,
soon you're going to be shaking hands and kissing
Right.
babies, like, you know?
exactly. I'm running for president in 2024. So,
Yeah.
no. But I mean, the funny thing is, Elizabeth, when people watch you on video and they listen to you, you become that trusted advisor.
Mhm.
Chaz talks all the time. You're one relationship away from changing your future. I'm getting 5 million views a month sometimes. Which one of those relationships are going to reach out to me? Or which one of those relationships have I changed their future?
That's such a good point.
I think that's the optic to have when saying I want to be a marketing company is how do I, whose life can I impact by marketing, right? Like here we are today having a conversation about video, on video, hoping that someone's going to hear it and go, wow, I really need to shift my focus and be a marketing company, marketing focused, marketing supported by, still lead generation focused. And then marrying the two together versus just hoping that the economy gets better or organically I'm going to grow,
Right.
but actually doing something about it and shifting to that place where that goes. So let me ask kind of a thought here to each of you. There seems to be so many platforms right now, so many platforms
It's
to share video.
overwhelming.
Well, yeah, I mean, like even my kids have different preferences to where they watch video, and so forth. So if I'm getting started today, like, for us, we're looking at YouTube, we're looking at, we push stuff on Instagram, LinkedIn, all of that, because that's where our Facebook, that's where our marketing is. But, now you have others that are coming up, TikTok and others, right? So, and who knows what will continue. So how do you manage that piece? I mean, what do you typically, when you're going to go look for something in a space, where do you go look for it?
Right. I mean, I still just go to YouTube and to Instagram, but I do realize the trends are changing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Or you Google it, I suppose, and
then whatever the first result is, that's what I'll click on.
Right. And Roger, I think you said, it's interesting. I did a business summit. Let's see, it was like May of 2020, and I had 3 people on that said the exact same thing. All in their training that was different. They all said the exact same thing. And what they said was YouTube was the second largest search engine. You were one of them, Roger, that said that.
I
YouTube was the second largest search engine. And I remember being in the middle of those interviews, writing that down, going, wow, that just hit me like a wall. Just smacked right across the face.
When I first heard that was at that first social media marketing conference that I went to. And I walked in. The guy speaking is a big YouTuber. He was one of the first consultants I called. I'm sitting in his session because the placard outside said, "Get in front of your customers using video." Exactly what we're talking about today. You've seen me, Chaz. I'm on the front row. I'm right down, right stage left, right where I'm always at. And I'm right in front of him. And he gets up behind the podium and he starts talking. And he says this exact same thing. He says, "YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world." Chaz, I shut my book. I put my pen in my pocket. I was fixing to get up and walk out because I thought, he has no idea what he's talking about. YouTube is where I store my videos. It's exactly my thought. I turn around to get up. I put my arm on the chair behind me, and I turn around. The room is packed. There's people standing along the walls and along the back of the room. And again, that aha moment, it's like, wait, there's this many people in here. This guy apparently knows something.
Mm-hmm.
The next words out of his mouth were, now remember, YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. The next words, Google is the largest and they own YouTube.
Right.
So when you're on YouTube and Google wants to show somebody a video, where do you think they're going to send them?
Yep.
To their sister.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that's the trend that I was saying that we saw too when I was like, I'm going to go all in on video, but I didn't know what that meant. I still sometimes, there is no like, just like any trends, any platform, even in business, things change constantly. So, to Roger's point, probably he's learned over time. I've learned some things over time, but we're always learning because it's constantly changing. Algorithms change and metrics change and all of these things. So if you feel like, well, YouTube's been around a while and I'm just getting in the game, I want you to know you're not too late. Like it's never too late to get in that game of making and creating video and having fun at it at the same time, right?
Now can I give your listeners some amazing words of advice?
Yeah, give us some tips.
Please.
Okay, first of all, no matter what platform you decide to start on, get your name on every platform. And
yes.
A listener right now may be thinking, look, I'm never going to get on TikTok. Okay, I understand that. I said that when it first came out. Now I've got videos with almost 1 million views. We've been doing it a month. Okay, so you can get your name out there that fast. But here's the big reason. If you don't get your name and you decide, look, I'm never going to use TikTok, but 2 years from now, TikTok is the largest video platform there is.
Right.
And you didn't get your name, but I did because I saw what you were doing everywhere else. And I thought, man, one day I may want to make that channel on TikTok. You don't have that name now. I do.
Right.
And that is a big deal. Make sure, and I call it building your playground, know where you're at. Make sure you've got every platform that you may or may not want to get on, but now you have it. You can if you want to.
Right. Sort of like
That's
when
huge.
Sort of like when domain names first came out and there were people literally just brokering domain names, right? Like
I own over 100.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember a guy I worked with this is a long time ago, this dates me, but we're working together and he's like, came to work. And I remember him talking about that over the weekend. He's like, you're never going to guess. I got and I remember, I want to say like $3,000, $4,000.
Oh my God.
For, I think it was poolsharks.com or something like that. And he's like, I bought it for $30 and I sold it for $3,000. I'm like, I didn't even know what the internet was. This is like 1999 or something. Like I didn't even understand what he was talking about. I thought it was the stupidest thing ever. And yeah, like you, Roger, I think we own like 80 domain names or 100 domain names, so, but you're saying it's the same concept on these social platforms and video platforms because you may not know right now what you're going to shoot on in the future.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's smart.
And the other thing is what you asked Elizabeth a while ago, know what platforms your people are on. Chaz, you've got children different ages. And like you said, they're all on different platforms. If you're a business owner, you need to know, where is your consumer? Where is your avatar? Like I said, whenever I make a video, I'm talking to one person. I need to know where that one person is.
Yeah.
That one person on LinkedIn, are they on YouTube? Are they on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok? Where are they at least in the beginning? Then later, which is what we're doing now, you start learning how to repurpose content. How can I take this 30-minute video or 15-minute video I made this morning, and how can I share it in other areas? And what information can I get out there? And I'm telling you, when you start learning it and you create, one thing I tell people all the time, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there.
Right.
Ooh.
And me, I'm like, look, I know exactly where I want to go, and I can draw you a map how I want to get from here to here. But the neatest thing I've learned over the last 2 years, you've got to be able to pivot.
Yes.
You've got to be able to say, look, I'm headed this direction. Okay, wait a minute. Something just happened here that can change my future. I just made a new relationship.
Yeah.
My future changed. You had a speaker one year. Actually, I believe it was at your 5+1 book release. And one of the things that he said, and I'm trying to remember exactly how he said it. God, and I was thinking of his name. Now I forgot what he said. Okay, I'll come back to that one in a minute. I'm going to write it down. I know. It's like, what did he say? Because there was something he said that.
You were talking about relationships and how how each relationship may be something that impacts you,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's so true.
It'll come back here in just a second.
Yeah, I mean that's what marketing does, is it opens you up to those relationships, and I think the way to do it is to get started. And so many times we all hesitate doing anything, especially when we're in these types of markets, of just get started, do
Oh
something,
yeah,
right?
especially when it's new and it's scary and you don't know what to do. So
Yeah. What's interesting is I remember when Roger was at one of our events, probably now almost 2 years ago, and you stood up and you said, "Hey, I'm almost at, I believe it was 5,000 subscribers to YouTube." And I'm like, "All right, well, we can probably get there just in this room." We had enough people that were like, "All right, let's do it." And now, what are you at on YouTube right now, roughly?
225,000. Oh no.
225,000.
Oh no, wait a minute. No, that's been a while.
You're probably almost 250, aren't you?
Yeah, it's around 250. I don't look at it that often anymore. The thing I look at is the views.
Yeah.
The subscribers are a great metric, but it's a vanity metric. And don't get me wrong, it's nice. You've got to have it to where you know what you're looking at. But the big deal is views. And I mean, we've got to be up around 30 million views or something by now.
It's a good point to make, because I feel that way a lot with, like, even when you look at people on Instagram and Facebook and you see all these subscribers, followers, etc. And on some of these platforms they buy them, and so you look at it and you go, okay, this almost doesn't mean anything anymore on some of these platforms. Like I see it. What's your engagement? What's your interaction? What's your, like you said, what are your views on YouTube? That's where it matters, because the rest of it to me is like, it's all vanity. It's if you can't engage your network, then it really doesn't matter what that number is.
Exactly.
If they're not engaging with you, if they're not watching your videos, then it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and think about what you just said. We're talking about advertising and marketing. And at that roofing conference I told you about last year, I literally, when I walked in, and I study advertising and marketing now just to know what they're trying to sell. And an advertising website company is telling people, look, if we can get people on your website, 1,000 times a month, that's a good deal. And then when you start asking them, okay, how long are you trying to keep them there? Well, if we can keep them there a minute to 2 minutes, that's fantastic. We're averaging about 6.5 to 7 minutes per view. And we've got some months we're getting 5 to even over that now. But let's say an average of 5 million views a month at 7 minutes each.
Yeah.
We're spending time listening to what we have to say.
Yeah, it's powerful. Yeah, a lot to consider for you watching today. I mean, there's just a lot to think about of getting started. And if you're doing video, stay with it. I mean, Roger mentioned this at the beginning. We didn't spend a lot of time on it, but we did videos, gosh, well, I think it was a year. We did a daily, like, quick message, 30 seconds or less, 60 seconds or less, something like that. And a lot of them we didn't get views on at all. And then all of a sudden, a few of them we started to get traction. We started to get views. But more than anything, like, when I look back at that, it helped us all get better at delivering the message, better at practicing, better at editing, but all of it. Like, we got better at all of those things. And so just like any skill, it's not an overnight, like, hey, I'm going to get 10,000 subscribers. It's not that simple. It's not, there's work, and Roger's put a lot of work into it.
I've put work into it, but I've got so much back out of it. And like you said, the engagement, Chaz, that's the biggest thing. When I read some of these messages and somebody says, hey, I just wanted to tell you thank you. You showed me how to fix my water heater. And this particular message I'm thinking about, the guy lived in a manufactured home. He had a leak. It had shifted. The water heater actually fell out of the side. So, and he couldn't afford to fix it. He was disabled. Somebody came out, leveled the house, put the water heater back in. He ended up watching one of my videos and figured out how to change the burner assembly and fixed it. And that's what his message was. He says, look, I went 6 months without water. I went 3 months without any hot water after that. But after watching your video, I figured out how to come in and fix my water heater. I now have hot water. And man, when you read stories like that, it's just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We think we've got it tough. And luckily, like I said, this is all about people and relationships and engagement. When you can touch people's lives like that, it changes the way you feel. It changes the way you see the world. And I'm not a marketer. I'm not an advertiser, but I've learned how to get in front of the camera, talk to my customer, and show them that I can help them. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, super powerful. Roger, appreciate you being our guest today on this episode of Word of Mouth. I think we've, really helped people see the idea of what they need to be doing as a marketing company that then sells a product or service and getting that message out to the masses by doing it by video. So thanks for being our guest today.
Thank you so
Chaz,
much.
thank you. Elizabeth, thank you. I mean, the invitation, when I saw that from you, it's like, okay, this is fantastic. So I appreciate it. I appreciate everything y'all do for helping businesses grow, helping them learn. It's not just networking, it's learning how to get better at doing what you do in business. So I appreciate
Absolutely.
everything y'all do.
Thank you. I mean, I love the brand because what he's smart about doing is, I mean, he's got, the mustache, the shirts, and he's got different colors with the logo. He's built it into that. It's on every video. You're just, lean deep into that. I just think, I've known Roger long enough and been part of that journey that I think what was important is it's interesting to see where he is today. And we didn't dive into a whole lot of where he started. I mean, we talked about where he learned the ideas and the concepts. But I was with him when he hit 5,000 subscribers on YouTube. And, and truthfully, he was excited about 5,000 as he is at 250,000. But, I think the thing to remember for everyone is that it's a long journey. Marketing is a long game. It's not a short game. And too often, I think people just give up. I wonder how many YouTube channels there are with like 3 videos.
Oh, I'm sure there's countless.
Yeah, I mean, because people just give up. They stop.
Right.
So they don't continue that path to perfection and so forth. So I don't know. What jumped out to you?
Honestly, it was a lot to think about in terms of just shifting your mindset from selling your product or your service or whatever it is to becoming that marketing guru, that marketing person in that space. So that kind of stuck out to me as,
Well, so let me ask you, because I'm sure the person listening right now is thinking the same thing. So if you were starting a business right now, would you jump in and do video? Would you?
I mean, before this conversation, no, I wouldn't have.
But would you sincerely consider it right now? Like right now, you had to start a new business. Would you go start marketing it through video?
Probably. After this conversation, yes, I would.
Just start and go. I think that's the key.
And stick with it.
Yep.
It's hard, but you'll get into the groove of it. You'll learn things. You'll try things and fail at them, and you'll get better along the way.
Or you won't, and you'll just
Or
stop.
you won't, and you'll have 3 videos on your YouTube channel, and that'll just be it.
Exactly right. All right, it's random question time.
Today, earlier during this episode, you mentioned something about how kids today say when they grow up they want to be a YouTuber.
Kids these days.
I know,
Kids
right?
these days.
What did you want to be when you grew?
When I grew up?
When I grew up.
What did you want to be when you grew up, Elizabeth?
When I grew up, no, I always wanted to be a commercial pilot. That was
Really?
when I was younger, that was the dream job. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a pilot.
And I always wanted to grow up and be flown by a commercial pilot. This could work out great. No, I think, when different phases of my life, different things.
Yeah,
right?
same.
I think when I was younger, like a lot of kids, I wanted to be a professional athlete.
Oh, that was a big one.
Realized that wasn't going to happen. And then law enforcement. I wanted to be in law enforcement. So
I feel like that's the go-to for a lot of kids. Firefighter,
Yeah.
police officer,
yeah,
teacher.
I think you're right. Yeah, and now it's like, not a lot of kids want to do that these days. So I think those kinds of skill sets are going to be in great demand coming up for sure. Good question.
That was a good one.
Commercial pilot. I have another one that I wanted to be when I grew up. I don't often tell people this, but this was one of the things I wanted to do when I grew up. Like hidden camera prank shows? Seriously, that's what I wanted to do.
That I feel like fits you so well.
And honestly, I would still do it.
Classic.
I mean, it ties in well with YouTube. You see these guys that get on.
Is that our new branding move?
Oh my gosh. No, I totally
That's
would.
how we blow up on YouTube.
So it's funny because 95% of my life, I'm straight arrow,
95%?
93 and a half. But
Okay.
follow the rules, do what I'm supposed to do, work hard. Well, no, that's not always true. But point is, People don't see that side of me, and like that's why I think I would be so good at that.
That's why it works.
It'd be so fun.
That's a good answer.
I hope you were recording that. I would get like a crew of people. We would just do pranks all the time because you know why they work is because people don't like the awkward and the uncomfortable. And so when you find somebody that loves to go make others awkward and uncomfortable, then it works. That's why that would be my go-to when I grow up.
When you grew up?
When I grew up. No, we're using it.
Next week on Word of Mouth, things you wish you would have known before starting your business, or things you wish somebody would have told you.
So you're the most vulnerable when you've hit a level of success that you go, gosh, you know what? I think we're good. I think most people way overestimate what they're going to accomplish.
There are a handful of things that I would rewind back to, hypothetically, to change things, but then where would that put me now?
Right.